Good afternoon. My name is Kelly, and I'll be the host of today's webinar, The True to Force Difference, an Introduction to True to Force CRM and BI Demonstration. Today's session will be recorded and sent to all attendees, so feel free to share it with your colleagues. If you have any questions during the presentation, please enter them in the question and answer panel below, and we'll get to those at the very end. Today's presenter is Ryan Elliott, Senior Application Engineer here at True to Force. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan for the presentation.
Thank you, Kelly. So as Kelly mentioned, this presentation today is the Tour de Force Difference CRM and BI solution with direct integration to your ERP. And today we're going to do a high-level demonstration and overview of Tour de Force. And we've got an agenda set for today. So we're going to talk about what sets Tour de Force apart from other CRM and business intelligence solutions. We'll discuss the flexibility of Tour de Force. And we'll also talk about Tour de Force's user interfaces. We'll talk about the desktop as well as Tour de Force Web and why we have two different user interfaces for our customers. And those are the things we'll go through on the agenda today. As Kelly mentioned, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to put those in the question and answer panel. We'll get to those by the end of the session. We'll leave time for Q&A as well. So in talking about what makes Tour de Force different, a lot of people say that their software, their solution is different. And we differentiate ourselves a couple different ways. When you work with Tour de Force, you're getting more than just software. You're getting a partner who delivers a solution. And I know that looks like a tagline or a slogan, but it really is true because we work with our customers to make sure that we are providing them the best solution possible. And we've got customers that have been with us for over 12 years from the beginning. We've been in business for 15 years now, and from the beginning, we've got customers that have stayed with us all the way through until now, and they're currently still customers with us. So, we do partner with our customers. We do take into account your advice and things that you'd like to see in the software. We do add those things periodically over time. So, a couple of bullet points here I want to talk about. What makes us different, and really the industry knowledge that we have in wholesale distribution manufacturing. Between our owner and our consultants and the folks on our staff, we probably have over 50, 60 years of knowledge between those groups, especially in the distribution and manufacturing realms. Each of our implementations is slightly different because each of our customers is slightly different. So we design out the implementation plan with you around user adoption to make sure that your company is getting the best benefit from the Tour de Force solution. We do have direct integration to your ERP system. If you've been on the website at all, you'll see there's over 47 different ERPs listed. If yours is not listed there, don't worry. That is not an uncommon thing for us to have happen during the implementation. As somebody says, "Hey, we've got this old legacy ERP from Infor or from Epicor or from whomever, and we want you to pull the sales data from that." And we can do that. That's one of the luxuries of our system is that we have a connector that allows us to pull from basically any data set that's out there, including Excel sheets, Access databases, you name it, we can pull from it. And then ultimately we deliver more than you'd expect from a typical CRM system. And that's in a couple different methods. One is that we can partner with you to make sure that your users are adopting the system the right way. And two, there's other facets of Tour de Force outside of what we're going to see today with basic CRM and business intelligence that can fill the gaps within your business. And you'll see advanced webinars coming up in the future on different topics like the quote manager and the support module and the ticket capabilities and event management, all the different things that your company may be doing, but you may not be doing it in one system today. So just wanted to mention that because that is something that we do that's a little bit different from other CRM and BI solutions on the market. One of the things we focus on during the implementation and through the life cycle of using Tour de Force is going to be user adoption. This is probably one of the most important things that we focus on in terms of getting folks to use the system in a way that makes sense and that gives you an ROI on your investment. And it always starts with the top down, executive and management buy-in, the ability to commit to the project. And that's something that we talk about in the capacity of a management staff or a project team committing to the project and being a part of the process. If you're a part of that process, you know what's going on, you understand what motivates your users, you can help that process along and have them adopt the system better. Now, we do this through the ease of use of the system, the ability to easily enter data, and then ultimately providing information to the users that is important to them. Creating value for everyone that's using the system, whether you're in sales, marketing, inside sales, customer service, management, C-level executive, doesn't matter. We can provide value to you in some capacity that suits you and that fits your business process. We have proven implementation methodologies. Our roadmap implementation, and I'm going to mention that again, our roadmap implementation is our flagship implementation plan that accompanies our consultants. That's part of their business process, is to use our roadmap implementation to the best of their ability. They provide you with great information during that process, from their expertise to their work with other customers to their, their history and what they've learned over time. Those are things that you can't, get from some of the bigger companies out there, and some of the other companies in general. They just don't necessarily have that expertise in your market. So strong and proven implementation methodologies, that is absolutely something I'll talk about quite a bit when I talk with customers, because it's something we feel very strongly about. And then ultimately having the right resources involved in the project. And that's why I mentioned the business consultants, because those resources are vital to the success of the project with you. And our resources, again, have done this time and time again, where they can help develop an implementation plan that suits your needs and allows you to use tour de force in a way that you get the best return on your investment. So again, user adoption, super critical to your implementation of a CRM and business intelligence solution, and something we concentrate on, something we focus on, because we know that's always a concern when you're in this market. So just be aware of that we do take that into account when you're working with tour de force. A little bit about challenges that a lot of our customers face. And this is an article that's out online. It's a Forrester report that benchmarks optimization of CRM processes and performance. And I'm not going to go through and read the entire thing, but I do want to point out the chart that's on the left-hand side there, because if you look at that, the three biggest challenges that you typically see are a single view of customer data, the ability to drive insight based on information you have access to, and gaining cooperation in the organization. And quite frankly, the information that you see in the parentheses, the 360-degree view of an account, the integrated BI, and the business process optimization, or BPO, are three things that tour de force does out of the box as part of an implementation in our software that we didn't, we didn't call Forrester, we didn't do anything. We just happened to look at this and said, you know what, that's exactly how we integrate and how we implement tour de force with the companies we work with, and this sits and suits us to a T. So wanted to mention this again. You can take a look at that online. There's great detail in that article. But if you have any questions on it, we can talk about those later as well. Now, you've heard me mention integration. I'd be remiss if I didn't show you this little chart and graphic with information in it in regards to what we do with the information, how we pull it into tour de force. And you'll see that today when we jump into the system and go through the demonstration. You'll see how we pull business intelligence data, how we can show you some reports, provide you with information out of the box, and then ultimately give you choices on what you see and what you use. But typical integration with an ERP is going to pull invoices, contacts, accounts, inventory information, invoice lines, notes, quotes, and orders. That's typical. What we pull out of the box without you having to suggest or point out anything, this is what we would pull into tour de force. And it goes through our connector. Now, the brains of this operation is called the BSI, or Business System Integration Connector. And it allows us to do some of the things that you see there below that gray arrow. That's only part of what that connector does. These are just some standard things that we have in the system. Calculated data fields, product manager rules, order splits, the ability for product modifiers, vendor business intelligence, quote opportunity. I mean, the list can go on and on. Those are really the ones we typically do all the time. So I wanted to point those out. But outside of just bringing the data across and calculating information for you, that set of check boxes there, those check marks there, are things that we do typical to almost every customer. And that information resides ultimately in tour de force at a most granular level at the ship to account, which you'll see today. And then ultimately, if you wanted to look at that from an overall company view, you can see that too. So just a little bit of a slide to illustrate what tour de force can do with the integration points. Now, we're not limited to an ERP system. We can pull from third-party systems as well. Could be construction bid boards, could be phone systems, could be a shipping system like, say, UPS Worldwide Ship, something like that. Ultimately, putting tracking numbers on orders. There's things that we can do that you may not have in your ERP, but you have access to, and there's a way for us to tie to that. Could be customer number, could be sales order number, could be invoice number, could be nothing related to any of that, just could be opportunity creation from, say, a construction bid board. So the nice part about our connector and the design of our system is that we can pretty much connect to almost anything. And that's the nice luxury that we have. Now, we also provide with some ERP systems a two-way integration. Now, what do I mean by two-way integration? Well, what that does is it gives you the ability to do certain things in Tour de Force in the CRM, then push that information back into your ERP. Now, generally people ask, well, can we create accounts? Can we create contacts? What can we create? And the answer is, yeah, you could do that with accounts. You could do it with contacts. Typically, a lot of the information that's going to reside in a CRM is going to be important to the sales team, but not as important to your accounting department. And there may be some issues with you wanting to create accounts, trying to get that past your accounts receivable person in your ERP. Is the capability there? Sure. Is it something we can do? Absolutely. I would advise you asking your accounts receivable person before doing it, though. But ultimately, the quote to order process is something they could absolutely get on board with, and the ability to sync contacts two ways. And for those of you that use Outlook, Exchange, or even Google Business, really it's a three-way contact sync with the capabilities we have with our Exchange and Google Sync, and then ultimately pushing that back into an ERP. But the quote to order is also something that's very unique to what Tour de Force does, giving you the ability to create a quote with customer pricing in our quote module, and then ultimately being able to push that back into an ERP as an order with the appropriate information residing in that order as well. So there are some things that we can do that really are pretty unique, but really standard practice within Tour de Force and what we do on a weekly basis. So I tend not to spend a lot of time in slides. That's not my thing. I'm not a huge slide person, so I want to jump into the demo. At this point, I want to talk about the Tour de Force web and desktop user interfaces and why we use both and what the purposes are behind those. So we're going to do that now. We're going to take about a half an hour, go through the system, go through what Tour de Force can offer you, and then ultimately get into some Q&A here at the end of the webinar. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. I want to talk about Tour de Force from the ability to use this on any device, number one, and the ability for sales reps to use this in the field as they're traveling, because ultimately that's what you're going to end up doing with Tour de Force Web. Then we're going to jump into Tour de Force Desktop and show you that interface as well. So when I first log into Tour de Force, I can have this on any device. It'll shrink down. I get a nice little hamburger menu up here. I have the ability to sign in with my username and password. And ultimately, it's going to automatically load the information based on my permissions that I have to the system and based on the information that I should have access to, again, based on the permissions I have to the system. So it'll load up my daily summary. It'll load up information that's going to be important to me. So it says, hey, there's Ryan. Welcome. Come on in. And it's got access to my daily summary, my visualizations, some reporting capabilities, and ultimately my alerts and notifications all on my home screen. Now, I'm not going to run this in this mode the entire time. We're going to go full screen, but I wanted to show everyone the capabilities that we have with our resizing and fully responsive HTML5 design. It can work on any device that has access to the internet. So the nice part about Tour de Force, you can use it from anywhere. I don't have to just be on a laptop. I don't have to be just on an iPad. I can be anywhere that I have internet access, go to a browser, type in my address, or if it's a shortcut on my phone, use it and have access to my information. Now, how do we get the information in there? We talked about the BSI connector, the ability to pull data across. But how would I be able to see information based on my permissions? And that's where we get into the ability to go in and actually create a structure around what your system should look like. And if I look at the information that's in here, you'll see that you've got company level, region level, then you've got branches, and then sales reps. Now, do you have to go down to that level or up to regional levels? No, you don't necessarily have to. But we do have that four level structure or 4-level capability that allows you to do that. We also take advantage of what you already have in your ERP. So if you're using build to and ship to methodology, we can bring that information over based on a territory ID or based on a salesman ID so that it shows up in Tour de Force appropriately. Now, this is it's just a structural thing. I just wanted to show you this and set a baseline for what you're going to see today, because we do take an account down approach within Tour de Force. So sales reps that have access to the account have access to everything underneath that account. And what I mean by that is if I can see the account, that can see the underlying sales information. That could be permission-based to where you do or don't see profit. Really, that's up to you. That's the ability to see all the ship tos. That's the ability to see a roll up to bill to level. That's the ability to go and look at all the activities, all the opportunities. Basically, any communication point, any sales data point related to that account As long as I have permission to it, I have access to see it, and I can see it from any device. So that's something I wanted to stress before we get into the system on how we lay out the information. So with that said, when I log in, I have access to information based on my permissions. Now, I have intentionally logged in as an admin. I have access to everything right now. We can switch gears and talk about it from a sales rep perspective in a bit. And on my daily summaries, where I'm going to typically start, because that's generally right above my visualizations and my sales information, and I want to see what action items need to be taken today. And I can shrink that down. I can go in and look at it. If I look at my monthly view, I can see that information. I can see all my appointments, all my activities, and all my tasks all in one place. And the information that's in here allows me to go in and say, okay, well, what kind of details do I have in that appointment? So maybe I look at my appointment from the 19th. I can open that up, and what I'm going to see is that that appointment's got details in it, typical from an Outlook calendar: subject, location, start and end time, and then ultimately notes. Now, one of the things that we can do and take advantage of, especially from a web device, is when you start getting into and using the notes and the text boxes within Tour de Force. You'll notice I have highlighted down there talk to text right here. So the information that allows us to do talk to text is based on the device that you have access to. So your phone, your tablet, your details are going to be available to you based on, helps if I don't click on everything all at the same time, helps have access to that information via talk to text, because you can do that from your phone on the road. And when you do that, you're going to be able to use your device to your advantage, because it's much easier to talk your notes into your device than it is to sit and type and go back to your desk at night and have to wait till the end of the day to get the information in. So generally, you can go in and do that very quickly from your device, and you can do that in the field so that you have access to it later on. So if you want to put additional notes in the system, you can do that. So again, talk to text is absolutely something you can take advantage of. And then once you're through that appointment, or you're getting ready to schedule time to go talk with that customer, generally what people want to know is, well, I want to know more about that account. Can I know more details about that account? So I've got my appointment, I'm going to go meet with them. I want to talk to them. What do I want to talk about? So that's where I get into the account details for that particular customer. And the account details are going to be information that comes, number one, from your ERP system. So that details would come over: address, phone number, company name, those standard things. Maybe some details about the account that you don't have in your ERP. So maybe the customer class, are they a target account, things you're going to use from the CRM perspective. And then other information that might be super important would be on the CRM details tab. So this is going to be information that you want to know: contacts, opportunities, activities, all the details that you would expect to see in regards to that account in one place. Or if you individually wanted to look at that information on, say, the linked items tab, where I could pull up my contact list and look at that detail there. I could look at all those contacts right here in one place. I could see what's going on with them, and I'd have access to that information direct from my phone. And generally, when you're going to look at that information, you're going to have access to it from, again, any device. So I can go in, I can pull that up, and I can look at the details. Now, typically, everyone's going to look at that information a bit differently. If you go into your phone and you want to look at it quickly, you can do that from the BYOR tab, which is going to be really the short version of loading a report. It's going to give you access to the information super quick. And that customer scorecard is going to be, I'm going to get this out of my way here. It's right behind there. There we go. The customer scorecard is going to be where you're going to see that information direct from your device. So you're going to be able to run that customer scorecard from your phone, and you're going to be able to see that information when you log in and load that up. I think my browser's frozen here. There we go. Back to my customer scorecard here. And you're going to be able to load that up and see all that information. So the details for that report or that information are going to be all in one place, and you're going to be able to run that and then see, accounts receivable values. You're going to be able to see your growth values. You're going to be able to see quite a bit of information. I apologize. My demo system's a little upset with Zoom today. There we go. Now it's coming back to me. Get my reports out of the way here. Chrome is unhappy. There we go. Back to my account that we were at. So the nice part about it is you can easily get back to the info if you do something silly like I did, which is click on 3 things at the same time. So back on the account. So again, you can see the information all in one place. So I can get access to my linked items tab, which is going to be on my contacts. I'd have access to my sales data. I'd have access to my reporting, which is going to be my BYOR reports. That information's all available right there from my details that I'm going to be able to see about that account. And when I log in and see the information, I'm able to use that to my advantage. So I can take advantage of what things do I have coming up next? What are the things I have coming up when I log in? All the details about my accounts are going to be right there. Pardon me. There we go. There's my BYOR tab. So you'd be able to see your reports. You'd be able to see your information. So you'd have access to all that detail. So I'd be able to go in and see my contacts. I can flip that over. I can see other things related to that particular account. So that's all going to be done direct from your home screen from your daily summary. You're going to have access to all that information. Now, you're also going to have access to your activities. You're going to have access to your appointments. You're going to have access to your tasks. Those things are all going to be available in that daily summary. Go ahead and close this. Go back to my home screen here. And the daily summary is going to be key to what you're going to be doing each day. So you're going to have, again, access to my appointments, access to my activities, access to tasks. And the activities are typically going to be the result of what you've done with the appointment. So you come out of the appointment, you're going to go ahead and create the activity. Maybe it was an on-site visit, and you want to track the information from that particular appointment. And you can see that from right here. You can go in and create that activity. You can see what the product focus was. You can select the activity type. These are all going to be, for each customer, these are going to all be things that you can access and you can do. And they're going to be your information. So when you guys log in, you look at the details and the activity type, you look at the product focus. Those are going to all be values that are part of what you've set up during the implementation process. Maybe you want to track value add. Potentially, if it was a joint call, you'd be able to have that information. Maybe it was with a vendor, be able to track that level of detail. And again, you can talk to text your notes in, so you can go down and do that, or you can even use your draft capabilities in here. I can put in some meeting notes and have something specifically pre-canned for what I want to track my notes for. And again, talk to text is where you can take advantage of some of that information too. So not only can I do all that from my device, creating the appointment, viewing the activities, creating the activities, looking at the account details, you can do that from anywhere. And that's the nice part about it, is I have access to information that's going to be important to me. Now, when I create the activity or I create the appointment, it's also going to spawn the information back in my tour de force in the office. So anybody that's in the office would be able to see, if they have access to that account, would be able to see that activity or see that appointment. So super simple, very easy to create the information, very easy to view the information. There is a calendar, so if you're not a list person, you can go in and look at it on a calendar, so you can see the activities, the appointments, the tasks. All that information would be on a calendar view as well, so you'd be able to see that. They are hyperlinked, so you can open them up. So the nice part is it breaks it down for you and it shows you all that information. Now, generally, a lot of people ask a question about the appointments and say, well, okay, since this ties to my Outlook and my Exchange, does this pull everything from my Outlook calendar? And the answer is no, not intentionally. It does not. It will allow you to push to your Outlook calendar from tour de force. But if you're like me and you have kids' appointments on there for soccer games and whatever else, it's not going to pull that out of your Outlook calendar unless you link it to something that it belongs to. So it will push to your Outlook calendar or to your Google Business calendar automatically, but it's not going to automatically pull from that calendar and put it into tour de force. And that's intentional. We don't want to clutter your business calendar with things that may be personal events. So that's where that comes into play. And then task capability is there as well. So if you're a company that uses tasks, you'd be able to have access to that information. It would be available. You'd be able to open those tasks and edit those just like you would if you're in Outlook. And then again, those get pushed to your Outlook tasks as well if you would want them to. Now, you heard me mention sales information and the ability to see that, and you can pull up sales information and see that directly on your home screen depending on what your permissions are. And you can go in and look at sales and profit trend analysis, and it's all, again, based upon your permission set. So if you wanted to see that, you can certainly go in and click on this information and see the details. And if I wanted to look at my account contributions this year, I can do that. And it's all controlled by you as the user based on your permission set. So if I only have access to my territory, I'd only see the accounts in my territory, but I can set my default. So if I prefer to look at this in a bar chart view, I can do that, and I can set my own default, and it makes it super easy for me to see. So that's one of the things we allow is the user to take advantage of that for themselves. And that gets down into the alerts notification capabilities. the ability to see sales information from any device on the road very quickly. Maybe I want to look at branch details. As I say, maybe I'm a sales manager. I want to look at branch details, including growth, sales goal, and percent to goal. Or if I want to look at my sales reps' territories and see their information, again, I could access that detail and see what's going on in that territory. Or if I wanted to look at, say, loser accounts, and I wanted to see that level of detail, I can do that direct from my device as well. So I can get access to information that's important to me. And you're going to see multiple ways that you can consume the data. You can see the visualizations that you saw on the home screen there, the ability for alerts and notifications to be automatically sent to you. Then if you wanted to dig into, say, the Bob Settle account here for Matt Quotex, you can go into that, and the sales data tab is going to have the ability for you to drill down into that information yourself to where you can look at details about that account in the capacity that you want to look at it. Could be quarterly sales information, could be annual sales information, could be in the capacity of looking at product group sales, and you'll be able to pull that up. So you can look at that information however you see fit, and then you can use that to your advantage. Again, you can go in and pull that information up. You can mine for the details. You can pull up product group sales. You could pull up all the different levels of information that you want to see, and maybe that's last year's comparison or this year's comparison. But you can pull those up, and you can look at the details, and you can see what level that is important to you. And then back to that reporting tab, the ability to run a report specific to an account to see where you stand, you'd be able to do that, and then would provide you with information about that account. I'm going to go ahead and run that, and we'll talk about that while we're running the report. But ultimately, I can see that information, I can pull that up, and it's going to load the details for me. I can move about the rest of my day. I can see what my calendar looks like. I can look at some of the other alerts I've got going on, and then I can go back to that scorecard right before I walk in the door at that account and have it pulled up right in front of me. So if I wanted to know more about Matt Quotex and just run that scorecard, I can do that in the background. There's other alerts in here too. This is just some sample data, but ultimately you'd have access to everything that we pull over from your ERP system and anything that you put into Tour de Force directly, and you'll be able to run all that direct from your home screen. It could be your top AR accounts, could be product groups, could be largest open orders, customer orders, customer quotes. All that information could be done direct from your home screen. And you could, again, the scorecard, you could pull that up and you can see what's going on with them. There's not a whole lot going on with that account this year. You could see that. There's no sales. Last year, you can see what they did. They still have an $88 account balance. And then you can get down into if they've got any open quotes. Right now we know that they're slow in Amatech, Ives Installation, and Amatech. Looks like those are the main parts they're slow in, and there's no activity with that account. So, this scorecard really doesn't have a ton in it because we haven't done much with them. And that's one of the nice parts about the scorecard is you can see we haven't really done much with this account, so we need to know what's going on. So the nice part is you can get access to it and see it. So again, easy access to the scorecard. But that's done based on running that from the account, which was based on opening up the loser accounts from the home screen. In a couple of clicks of the mouse, I can get access to anything I want to know about an account. And I can do that very, very quickly. Now, the other details in here, again, I mentioned the alerts notifications and how you can have as many as you want or as little as you want. But we typically recommend 5 to 7 alerts to start with generally. What are important to you? Maybe that's the new activities in your territory, the new opportunities that affect you, orders past the required due date. Any of these would be important that might be something you want to have on your home screen when you first log in. And that really leads us into the other reporting that Tour de Force can offer, and that's the ability to see things from a higher level. So maybe I want to look at a report at a salesman level, Bob's salesman scorecard. And the salesman scorecard would be available to me as well on any device, and it can be emailed out through the alerts and notifications. So not only can I load that scorecard direct from my phone, but I can have it emailed to me as well. So in Bob's territory, this is what's going on. He's got his top 15 accounts. You've got your opportunities by sales stage. You've got product groups and vendor mixes, sales, profit information, details that would affect your territory. If you wanted to do a sales comparison to goal, you can do that. There's a rolling 6-month trend there. And these are default reports out of the box. These are things that we provide to you. Maybe it's a rolling 6-month trend in a graphical format, or you want to see the sales accounts that are up versus down, or vice versa. Bob's Matt Quotex account right there on the top of the list of being down this year. He does have some increased volume in ABEX, so maybe that's helping out. But the nice part is you can see that. And this can be emailed out to Bob, and he can have access to his scorecard whenever he wants it. Or if you've got a little bit higher level of rights, you could do this from a executive level. Maybe I want to run my executive dashboard, have that information at my fingertips, and be able to see graphs and charts and details related to my executive dashboard. And I can do that too. I'd be able to see that information, summarized analysis details. I can see my top reps, my product groups, my vendors, top reps by month, or I could see information here by account or order backlog, but have those in my dashboards. Potentially a management level scorecard where I can load up maybe just a little bit slightly different set of data, looking at it by branch, rep, and account, having sales performance to goal metrics in there as well. I could look at those overall by company, by branch, by rep, including my top 15 accounts, having all that on a scorecard so I can see where we're at, where we stand, and what's going on. And those are all pieces of what we can do, having access to the customer, the sales rep, the overall company scorecard, potentially even having something like a corporate opportunity dashboard to where you can have that all grouped out for you so you can see a nice funnel report of information. So what's going on by rep, or what do we have going on by account, or potentially by sales stage? Those are all different options in the reporting that we have within Tour de Force. So again, just some things that you can do. Some of the reports you have access to in our system, you can run those direct from the home screen. You can use those on any device. And then you've got some other capabilities in here as well. The global search capability, recent item capability, favorites menu. You can do all those things direct from your toolbar. The recent items and the favorites are something I use all the time. Basically it's what was I looking at last, or what did I have open last. I can do that direct from my home screen. It's going to show me what I last opened or what I last worked on. Maybe I want to load my favorites, which is going to be typically the 80-20 rule on the favorites is, when I load up my main accounts that make up 80% of my sales, I want to have access to those quickly. You'd also have access to the main BI summary within web. You could do this from your device as well. So maybe you have your tablet out and you've got a few minutes and you want to look at some sales information. You could pull that up and look at the BI summary direct from your device and have access to look at overall company sales if you have access to that. So if I wanted to pull that and look at my sales summary by overall year or by quarter, I could look at that information direct from my device and have access to it, including my sales goal right there. So depending on what my level of rights are, I can see this information. I want to look at monthly or even sales from yesterday, I can do that too. So super simple to use, very easy to see, something you can use from any device, and it does size to the device that I'm on. Now I'm going to switch gears briefly because this is what you would see if you were logged in from web as a sales manager or out on the road traveling. I want to talk about what you can do from your desktop or from your Outlook toolbar. And that's where we get into Tour de Force desktop and the desktop interface. Now, when you use the desktop interface, if you're using Outlook, you're going to have an Outlook toolbar. And this toolbar is going to have access to the same information that you'd have access to when you load the full, what we call the info center of Tour de Force. It's just from the Outlook plugin. Makes it super simple, super easy to use. And again, I'd have access to information also in my email. I mentioned the alerts and notifications earlier. Not only can they show on your home screen, but they can be emailed to you. So when you log in and you open up Tour de Force, you have access to that information direct here, and you can load up your calls for the week, your branch details. You can look at information here by account. You can see all the details the same as if you would as if you're looking at your home screen of your web device. So all that information would be available there too. And that's nice because you can pick and choose what alerts you get, and you can see the information that's important to you in your territory. And it's not just an all or nothing scenario. We can filter the details based on what it is that you'd like to filter on. So makes it easy to use. Now, what good is the toolbar? What can I do with that besides the global search, the recent items that I just looked at on web, the favorites? Those are all things you can do. The other nice part about the toolbar is it makes it easy to get access to information about, say, an account. So I've got an email from Chris. I can see this is logged in Tour de Force. And if I click on the account button, what that does is it actually loads the Tour de Force interface at that point. It loads up the account form. And I can see information, again, address, phone number, details about the account, maybe some details that I don't have in the ERP. The customer class, the target account values, customer type. Those are all things I'd have access to as well. I can do that. I can see details about it. If If I want to dig into the sales analysis on this account, I can do that too. So if I want to dig into that sales analysis, similar to what we looked at on web, I can do that. Now, the nice part about doing it from your desktop is you've got time. You can dig into this in a little bit more granular detail. And if, say, you wanted to look at the product group mixes for that particular account, you can just simply click on the plus sign and you can start drilling into these. So maybe I want to look and see why we're down in this particular part. I can drill into that. I can look at it by vendor, or if I flip this over and look at it by item description, I can do that. Now I've got the item descriptions in there. Maybe I want to look at this by sales last year to date. Well, I want to know what the performers were last year at this time. I can do that, and then I can even open up all the invoice lines from last year at that point. There was just one invoice for that item. But you can see the drill-in effect that you have direct from Tour de Force Desktop, because you've got time to dig into the data and look at it in a little bit more granular detail. You can do that from here. You can do that by quarter, by month, by day. So the nice part is you can see it. If I wanted to see all the invoice lines from yesterday, I can do that. Or if I want to see all the invoice lines for the month, I can do that. So maybe I want to look at month to date, that $49,000 in invoice lines. I want to see that. I want to see what makes up that $49,000. And I'd have access to that information. So it makes it easy to work with, especially if you've got time to drill into the data. That's definitely something you can do. Again, we talked about the group summaries on web, and you didn't really get to see that yet, but this is what it would typically look like, especially when you're digging into the product groups if you wanted to look at it. Color coding capabilities, the ability to see things that are doing well, things that are doing poorly. Those are all things you can do when you're digging into the data and starting to drill in and look at it in more detail. You have the capability of creating your own views in here as well. So I can either create a new one here, or I can create one that's what we call a personal view versus a global view. So the nice part is you have choice there as well. Not only can you see sales information and even CRM details, we mentioned that earlier, the ability to see contacts, opportunities, activities, emails, those things. Those are all things you can have access to and you can see. You can open them up, look at the details. The emails that are logged are going to be automated. That process is automatic. It will log emails based upon the email address it finds. It compares that to what's in Tour de Force, and if it finds a match, it goes ahead and copies the email down for you. No intervention by the user. There's nothing special you have to do. Maybe you wanted to look at, again, digging into the information. Maybe you wanted to look at an opportunity for that particular account. And you said, you know what, I want to look at this opportunity and see some details. You can open it from that grid and look at the details of an opportunity. Maybe that's a project-related opportunity, or maybe it's something that has great detail in it that you want to see. Job management is not an uncommon thing for us to do. That is very common in Tour de Force, to be able to manage your projects and your jobs in our system. Maybe you wanted to look at details about the job and have information available to you. Absolutely, you can do that. You'd have access to attachments, the ability to manage documents at the account level, at the contact level. You can manage documents within Tour de Force as well and see that information. And maybe you wanted to run that customer scorecard that we ran in web. You could do the same thing here. I can run that customer pre-call summary report and do that direct from my desktop as well. So within a couple clicks of the mouse, I have access to everything. I can see everything related to this account in one area. Makes it super easy for me as a user. And I'd be able to do that, again, from my Outlook inbox. And, say you just wanted to quickly view something, you can do that too. Maybe I want to view all the opportunities that Chris is specifically linked to. I can do that, and it's going to show me the 5 or 6 I have in this. Oh, 8. I've got 8 now in this particular account. Or maybe you want to see all the activities for Chris. Maybe Chris sends you an email and you want to see all the activities we've done with him lately. Maybe they're not all yours. Maybe some of those activities are things that inside sales has done, or accounts receivable trying to do collections calls has done. Those are all things you'd be able to do from here, from your Outlook toolbar. And then you'd be able to also go in and create new actions. Maybe that's a new appointment or task, something like that. You can do all that direct from the actions panel. Super shortcuts, makes it easy. And the Info Center is also something that we're going to talk about briefly, because the Info Center is going to be really your mainstay for Tour de Force. You're going to have access to this. Maybe you've got Outlook on one screen and Tour de Force Info Center on the other. The entire BI summary can be on here. You can have that entire BI summary on here. Have that be your default when you first log in. Have access to the information. The same drill down capability is there. You want to look at it by quarter, or you want to look at sales and drill down to your product group sales that way. Again, very easy to use. I can switch that over and say, well, I want to see it by vendor instead. and then you can drill into it by vendor instead. So the nice part is it's super simple to use. You can drill into the data however you want to drill into it. Maybe I want to look at my top vendor, and I want to look at the info for ASCO valves. I want to look at my product groups for ASCO valves, and I want to see which ones are slow. Yeah, this one. Let me see the invoices for the ones that are slow. And then you can drill into the invoices from there. So the nice part is those drill down capabilities super simple. I can look at details about invoices, details about items. I can do all that very, very quickly. You can manage information in here as well. So maybe you want to see all the activities and manage all the activities of sales reps, see all their daily calls. Maybe you want to have a particular view involved. You want to go in and you want to say, okay, I want to look at all the activities in the last 30 days. And then you want to group that by sales rep. Now I can see Bob and I can see unassigned accounts. I can see who's creating these. I can see whose accounts they are, who I worked with, what did we talk about. I can group it that way. Potentially, if you want to look at your pipeline or your funnel, you can do that with opportunities, just like we did with activities. So you can drill into that data in more detail. So if I want to look at all my opportunities, I can do that. Or maybe I want to go in and look at all of my pipeline report. I can see that and look at the details about my pipeline. So potentially, I want to look at only the level 4, stage 4s. I want to look at those. Let's clear all. We'll look at the stage 4s. And maybe I want to look at the close probabilities that are 70, 80, and 90. There's those. So that's good stuff. And if you wanted to group it outside of sales stage, maybe by branch, there's your branches, and I can see what Denver's doing this year, or I can see what Dallas is doing this month. So the nice part is you can easily sort this information, group the information. This is where you can drill into the data in more detail and use it to your advantage. You can manage accounts in the same way. I could load up that sales analysis just like I did in web. So if I wanted that executive dashboard to be my default when I first log in, you can do that. And it's so much powerful tools that you can use to take advantage of and use every day. Realistically, you can use it every day. Something that you can provide yourself with great information, have it emailed to you via the alerts and notifications, or even have it on just the BI summary when you're doing some analysis on there. Maybe you're looking at just open orders. Simply you want to look at open orders in the system. You can see that. So it makes it nice and it makes it simple for you, and you can easily see the details across the board about the entire company if you've got rights to. So with that, I want to leave it open for questions because I know I usually get a little wordy and go a little too long. We don't have enough time for questions. So Kelly, at this point, being that we've got about 15 minutes left, that's usually a good time to get into the Q&A. So I'd like to jump into that and kind of see where we go.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ryan. I do want to remind everyone that a recording of the webinar will be sent out via email, so be on the lookout for that. At this moment, I'm not seeing any Q&A come in right now. Do you have anything else you want to include, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. If you've got questions, feel free to jump on our website. We definitely have information on there that's important to you. Customer testimonials. There's great details. It looks, Kelly, looks like a question jumped in there.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I was going to wait till you were done. So a question did come in. What about quoting? Can you quote? And if so, can you use your own templates?
Yes and yes. So briefly, let me talk about that. So yes, you can do quotes. I'll simply show you really quick. So new quote. And you can use your own templates. So it's all word-based templates that can be translated into PDF format for your customers. But yes, you can absolutely create quotes within Tour-de-Force. You can generate those. You can add line items. You can copy and paste line items in there from, say, Excel. You can do all that. You definitely have access to create those. And once you're done with that, can you print documents specifically for your templates? Absolutely. We have a document creation capability, and whether you do that from the desktop or you do that from the web user interface, either one, you can absolutely create quotes within our system. And depending on your ERP, you could push it back into your ERP as well. Great question.
Yes, great question. No other questions, as you were saying, Ryan?
No, absolutely. So for those of you that have been on the website, you've probably seen the information I'm talking about. But if you take some time and jump on there, we have some great details on there, some other webinars. and other information that would allow you to take advantage of what we have to offer.
All right. Another question came in, Ryan. Do you have any social media integration?
I guess it's kind of a broad question, but in terms of direct integration to social media, we don't do a ton of that today. We're actually working with a company, a third-party company, to do some integration with them for live feeds of things to come in from social media, whether that be Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or what have you. But we do have the capability to do LinkedIn links and stuff like that, but not necessarily direct integration to social media. So that might be a question we want to talk to that person directly and kind of get an idea of what they're looking for. We can link to social media sites direct from an account or a contact. Absolutely. Just details of what you'd like to do with it, I'd love to know.
Yeah, and we can follow up with the person who asked too.
Perfect.
All right. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in. So again, just final reminder to everybody, I want to thank you guys for joining us and spending the afternoon with us. Remember that a recording of the webinar will be going out, so be on the lookout in your emails or in your inbox for that. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Have a great day, everyone.